Okay, let's get on with today's Street Talk then. So, warm up to Britain's Got Talent week. It did feel a bit like a warm up week, I would say. Wasn't quite as strong as last week. I mean, what could beat Sally at the dinner party? And that storyline itself has dropped off a cliff, hasn't it? We'll be putting that one at the end. But big story this week is obviously Abby's story with her deepfake video. Yeah, that was my thoughts on it. I was a bit. I'd heard about this a few weeks ago. I had nothing other than Abby would get deepfake videos made of her, and I was a little bit trepidatious about it. I don't know. It just felt a bit grubby, but I'm not actually minding it. How are you feeling?
Yeah, when I saw the headline, I was like, oh, God's sake.
But, Abby is one of our favourites and it certainly helped carry it. And it's nice to have a villain in the piece, which is Kevin. Storyline title for this, at the moment, I've gone with the only works is written down, but I've got it as A dot brackets B close brackets to I, because it's like AI, but it's Abby, because their names are close. Doesn't really work, does it?
AIB.
Well, the other one that I thought up with was a bit of like a play on Abbey Road and calling it Abbey Rude. Is that still better? Doesn't matter. Let's move on.
I reserve the right to silence.
New Kit on the block will be next, which will be Bernie and Kit and Paul and everything that's going on there. We had a bit more of the On Roy Man story, Roy in prison, and the groomer looms, even though I don't think Nathan was actually in it this week, was he? But it's the fallout of Nathan and Bethany and Sarah and new pal Daisy, it seems. There was a little bit more of the Leanne Institute story, and like I said earlier, we will be finishing off with the Demi Amore story. And it is a shame that the story has ended so far. I would say that Demi is quite an apt name because the story is a bit half-assed.
You can say that about plenty of stories.
Would you, because this is a very sensitive storyline, which I know is not one that I'm the best at, I wonder whether you would like to take the reins on the A dot brackets B close brackets dot I story.
All right.
What's she been getting up to this week, the skank?
What hasn't she been getting up to?
But Kevin, honestly, with both of us were so mad on, was it Wednesday's episode, when Kevin's like, "Oh, Abby, what have you done now? This is the lowest you've ever sunk." It's
like, excuse me, Kevin. I didn't do it yesterday.
Even if this video were something that she had only just filmed, he's not exactly got a spotless past, has he? If Abby picks up a copy of, a Coronation Street book or reads his entry on Coropedia and finds all the misdemeanours that he's been up to, what's this with you and Molly, Kevin?
Yeah,
what's this?
You pervert.
Honestly, Kevin,
well, she knows
what a massive git he is. But nice to have a little bit of someone to hate in this story, because we don't know at the moment the identity of the mystery deep faker. But yeah, go on then.
Maybe it's Kevin.
I think
he does protest too much.
Kevin would probably, he's the closest he'd get is making like cave paintings that look a little bit like Abby doing raunchy things.
Yeah, go look. This is you. I've painted you, and it'd just be a stick figure with 2 circles at the top.
Right, come on then.
Boobs.
Let's see what happened. We'll run down the story then.
I'm just going to skip ahead to the end and say, how embarrassing is it for you to go around saying to everybody, "Oh, that video on the internet, I don't remember it being recorded because I was off my head on drugs," and then be like, now I remember it's a deep fake. I didn't do it at all. That's like the doubly embarrassing because you've admitted that there was a point in your life when somebody could have made a porn video of you.
I think, everybody would have suspected if they didn't know already that Abby has been...
But you know what I mean? How awkward. You should have just not said anything. But yes.
If anybody ever makes fun of me, well, then I'm pretty sure...
Well, they can do. That's the scary thing.
They can't. I won't let them.
Well, that's the scary thing.
I'm pretty sure I would know straight away that it was fake.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You would hope that you would know.
Right, go on then. Sorry.
No, it was me that interrupted myself. Yeah. I thought it was interesting. Also, I did use the word porn then, and I think there's a bit of controversy, maybe, or we need to think about how we use language. Because
is this like a prostitute sex worker thing?
Well, they said sex video or video. Yeah, they said sex video quite a lot in today's episode, and I think maybe there is definitely a distinction between pornography and a sex video. Like one is made with consent.
Yeah, and the other one, I guess so.
That's why you don't call it. with children, you don't use the P word for that.
Yeah, no,
because it's not. There's a consent implied in that
word.
Heavy
early on in this.
I know.
Episode,
I'm just saying that sometimes I think that it goes a bit far, and we get a bit caught up. And I think a lot of it is, or some of it is, people kind of like, I know the secret way of saying things that you don't know, and if you don't know, then you're not as good as I am. That I hate that kind of stuff. But I think it is worth thinking about how sometimes what you say can have implications that you don't necessarily mean.
So we are officially branding it on this podcast a sex video.
Yeah, because again, we don't want advertising. Every single week, when I'm like, oh, we could do a clean episode this week with nothing controversial or touchy that. But all these other, like, I listen to murder podcasts all day long, and all of them are like, oh, and then she was assaulted and left in a ditch to die. And now is a word from our sponsor, Simply Safe. Like, why don't we get advertising just because Coronation Street does all of this, but it's fictional?
We have been trying for a year now.
Does anyone want to buy advertising?
Honestly. Right, come on.
Okay, well, I heard that there's a few rude video websites that want to do some adverts with us now they've heard that we're up for it. Right, on Monday, Abby overhears them talking about Corey on the radio.
Oh yeah, because it was last week that Kev had seen that the thing on the forum.
Kev's seen this allusion to this documentary that's coming up, and he didn't tell her because he thought she wouldn't find out.
Yeah.
And so she overhears the radio talking about Corey saying, oh, he's a rising star, no matter what you've done in the past, you can still be a star on the pitch. He's got a documentary made about him, rah, 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 rah. And she gets really mad, and she's also really annoyed that Kevin already knew and didn't tell her.
I find it difficult to believe that this no-name streaming platform's documentary is making so many waves.
No, I don't think anyone cares, genuinely.
Like, I know it's a fictional world and we haven't got anything to compare it to, but I think in real life not a whole lot of people would care or know or see about this.
From that, I agree with you completely. And the worst thing that Abby could have done was go on television, go on the internet and make a video advertising it.
Yeah,
going,
now everyone's going to want to see it.
Everyone wants to watch it now. But they're definitely, if you watch things like, every now and then there'll be like a local interest piece or whatever, and they will do stuff like this and talk about football, not footballers.
Murderers.
Prisoners.
Yeah.
And rehabilitation and all that stuff. And it's always like a feel-good kind of, oh, yeah. But no one ever thinks about the victims of the crime going, hang on a minute, he still did, kick someone's head in, literally.
And now he's being praised for making delicious brownies in prison.
And kicking a football, which I guess is a good application of his established skills.
Do you think that, what's your stance on should this kind of video have been made? I mean, it's kind of... Yeah. It's not...
What's my stance on it?
Because Abby was very much, well, this is completely wrong. Think of the victims. Why are you praising this prisoner? But it's not completely out of the ordinary for prisoners to be seen, turning their lives around and learning a trade or what have you, is it?
Well, you can't just say, oh, you're a prisoner and you did a crime, so you're always bad.
No. But I suppose it's fair that
the victims shouldn't be in a position of deciding how much somebody is allowed to be rehabilitated and whether society as a whole should forgive them, because that's a really bad position to put them in. And not everyone's going to have the same response. And their response is nothing to do at all with the crime that was committed. You can have somebody who is a devout Christian who had their daughter murdered by a depraved serial killer, who would say, I forgive them, they've paid their debt, they should be able to continue, and I wish them well, and God will forgive them, and so will I. And then you could have somebody who's just like, already hates everybody anyway, and then somebody came and, I don't know, kicked their cat, and they went to community service, and they'd be like, never forgive them, I hate them for their eternity, I'm going to cut them down and cut their eyes out. Do you see what I mean? Like,
yeah.
How you respond to something is not always to do with the thing itself, it's to do with who you are as a person. And so involving victims in this, I think, can sometimes be... I mean, it's not fair either on the person who did the crime, because, okay, they shouldn't have done it in the first place, but why should what happens to them be down to who they did it to. It should be down to what they did.
Yeah.
Not who was victimised. I think, I
think one thing that this week was missing was an appearance from Corey.
I know. They were like, yeah, Corey's the best person in the whole world.
Maybe if he'd have been able to see like a scene of him kind of showing how sorry he was for what he did, and if it was genuine, or having somebody go and visit him, I don't know, but. Especially considering they're bringing back all the baddies at the moment. And I do not know whether Max Evans is coming back into the show or not, but it feels like if they were going to, they would have shown him in this episode.
Well, they had an interview, didn't they, with one of the other prisoners going, he's
top
a
bloke.
great guy.
Yeah.
Like, why not have him going, sorry.
Yeah, it feels like that was just the maybe the catalyst for the AI storyline coming in. But I don't know, there may be still more of it in the future.
Well, yeah. Abby's saying he should be doing hard labour, not swanning around watching football with his mates, and she watches some of the programme, and this is when she sees this guy going, he's such a hero, he's so great, he's such a role model.
It's kind of, why would she watch it?
I would.
Would you?
Of course I would.
Just to feed your anger?
Yeah.
You want better to be informed?
Well, you want to know what you're moaning about. Don't you? You can't just moan about something if you don't know what it is.
Mm.
Well, she tells Kevin she's mad at him. And then she tells Nina, and she's like, don't watch it, honestly. It's so annoying.
She does, doesn't she? She just goes around telling everybody not to watch it.
Yeah,
what do you expect's going to happen?
I want to watch it now. She says he's trying to get the public on his side and get an early release or something. She can't believe it. Abby's like, yeah, don't watch it. They go to see DD, and she says, well, nobody's done anything wrong here. It's not going to affect how long he serves.
She's
but
technically, she says it. I think DD is on Abby's side that
of course.
This shouldn't
Everybody
happen.
can agree this is really distasteful, but equally, it's not illegal. So you either, you go to your MP or somebody and you say, actually, there should be a law here. Blah, 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 blah. And then you let everyone decide whether you think that's a good idea.
It's all very well saying to Abby, well, he's still locked up. He's not going to get any extra time. No way is he... I mean, less time. There's no way he's going to be let out early.
This is when you do what she did, which I agree with what she did. Take things into your own hands and make your own video.
Yeah, what I didn't particularly agree with was her turning up at the TV studios,
which
she does later. Because, I just don't like the barge in there and cause a fuss. Like, be rational. I know that the memories that this
would be boring.
The memories that this would have brought back to her.
Yes, I know. I don't want anyone to come away from this thinking that we don't understand what.
No, I would totally and utterly sympathise with Abby in this situation.
I would be worse than she was.
Yeah, and she has clearly shown herself in the past to be the sort of character that does kick off on things and does act without thinking and maybe doesn't go about things in the most calm, rational way. But as a big Abby supporter and fan and lover, I don't like to see her
making mistakes,
making mistakes and going in there and just making herself looking like a moany old Minnie, which is
not a moany old Minnie, just a maniac.
Basically.
She's. Oh, this was all filmed in the real Tony Warren building, which is the actual reception area of the ITV buildings for Coronation Street.
Yeah, they made good use of that set this week because they also had the Weatherfield General, didn't they?
The Weatherfield General Hospital is outside that same area. So when they go through those doors, it's kind of like what it looks like, really. Well,
they put all the backgrounds on it to make it to dress it up like the TV production office.
They had the logo and they had all these fake TV shows, which I thought was really cool. I liked them. They looked really good, didn't they?
Yeah, they were cool. But it was they lack security, I'm going to say, because the fact that Abby could just barge on in, go upstairs, immediately find the office of the person that needs to be shouted at, who just so happens to be there.
Yeah, I'm just
no sign of any security guard.
You say?
Yeah.
Well, they just sit behind a desk and wait for somebody to come and complain. So the woman says, "Look,
if you're going to make that kind of documentary, they probably should just employ somebody to sit on the phone and take complaints.
Employ Kevin as a bouncer." So this executive says, "Look, the point of the show is people trying to turn their lives around." And Abby says, "You're glamorising criminals in the name of entertainment," which is kind of what Coronation Street does. I thought this was all really tongue-in-cheek and kind of a bit meta here.
Did you?
I really thought that they were like, oh, we do that here. That's why we filmed it in our offices as a joke. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what they do.
Well, not to real.
No, I know.
Yeah, they do.
But they do. They glamorise criminals in the name of entertainment.
But they get their comeuppance in the end, so maybe that's what's going to happen to this.
Well, look, she says, cancel the show, and the woman's like, sorry. And then she presses a big button which says, this is episode 2. Well, sorry.
It's streaming, isn't it? And I know I'm old and crumbly and I don't really understand things like that, but it's
like,
out there on the internet.
I'm not going to... Imagine if Coronation Street cancelled itself every time somebody complained to Ofcom. We'd never see another episode again.
They're like, sorry, if you were to watch the programme right from the beginning, you'll see that we put a warning on it at the beginning, saying this programme may contain scenes that some viewers find upsetting. So that's our little disclaimer.
If you need any help, go to itv.com/advice. So, yeah, she's like, I'm going to call the police if you don't leave, Abby. And Abby's like, you're pathetic. But she leaves. Back at the cafe later, Abby's not ready to give up the fight. And she's like, we're gonna win. So she...
No, Abby is ready. Abby at this point is giving up. She's saying... That
she's like, we can't win against those
blown off steam.
Fat cats at the Channel 8 News Collective Institute, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Nina says, no way, I'm not giving up. Then Abby goes back to work and Craig turns up. And he's like, we've had a complaint about you. You barged into the office and you were very rude. And Abby's like, do one. And he's like, if you carry on like that, I might have to arrest you. And you need to calm down. And he leaves eventually after Abby gets really wound up and Kevin has to hold her back.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, I wasn't being aggressive. This is aggressive. I'm in the wrong. They're the one making documentaries about murderers. Nina sees her and says, I've got Suki from the Gazette. She wants to do an interview. And then for some reason, Abby's going, if you record me, I don't want any edits.
Oh, yeah, that was
I want you to film it from the very beginning and no cuts and upload it completely as it is. It's like, come on. What do you think this is?
That's what we do at the beginning of this podcast. No edits.
When we have interviews, have you ever had anyone go, don't cut anything I say?
No. I've had one or two said, can you cut this? I did enjoy that scene with Abby as much
she
as
did
I was
a really
like,
good job. Yeah,
not too keen on the barge in method of the rest of the episode. You can rely on Sally, Carm and Duttine to pull out the stops for a good old tearjerker.
Normally
like
these are a bit trite and kind of maudlin and as a bit simple-minded, but she did. I think it was really well scripted, and she did a really good job of like not laying it on too thick.
I still preferred. Well, it put me in mind of the victim statement that Brian helped her put together after Seb died, and I think because it was so close and it was a bit more raw then to her, I would say that stirred up a little bit more emotion, but she still did a good job with that.
What she should do is get Max and Nina together and make a video about Seb and what Corey did to him.
Yeah, maybe.
Make your own documentary. Get Max to do that. He's supposedly a whiz kid at making documentaries, and if he wants to rehabilitate his image, this would be the perfect project for him to take on.
I really just think that they should
just leave it alone. No one cares about this, really.
No. And yes, it was on the local radio, but that's about as far as it's been.
But how many times have people tried to do, or somebody's done a documentary, or somebody's become famous for something on the internet, and then within minutes, all this dirt about them and all their horrible secrets get unearthed for everyone to find out, and then they turn into a social piranha.
Well, we found out exactly what the repercussions were for Abby in Wednesday's episode, didn't we? No.
So they agreed to put the video online. So on Wednesday, Abby's looking about this appeal and she's like, oh, there are comments. Oh, I better read them. I was like, don't read the comments. Never read the comments.
Surprisingly, nice surprise, wasn't it? To have positive comments underneath.
Looks like my video's gone viral. So she goes to the cafe, tells Nina about it, and Nina says...
The production company are just laughing all the way to the bank here, probably, aren't they? Like, this is our most streamed episode of anything ever. It's got 500 viewers.
I can't believe it. So... she goes to the cafe, tells Nina, and Nina says, yeah, I've seen it. And also, look, some people have put a petition up to have the show taken down. Isn't that great? Everyone agrees with us. Really, at this point, Abby should be happy with this because everyone is saying they hate Corey and nobody's taken in, and everyone remembers Seb. So she's achieved her goal here. Pretty much. And I don't think they're going to be able to take the video down, but I don't think anyone cares about that by the end of the week.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Whenever you think you've got a problem in life, don't worry, because the bigger one's right around the corner that makes the other one look like child's play.
Especially if you're in a soap opera.
Cassie is not happy that Tyrone is bossing her around at work and getting her to do valets at the garage.
Something that didn't really go
Cassie
very far,
just keeps going, oh, can I be in this story? What are you guys doing? Well,
it's seeming that they're going back to the whole Cassie's got a thing for Kevin because she's acting all kind of understanding of his plight. Yeah, she's trying to muscle in on
and
say, hey, that Abby, what's she like, hey? And Kevin, Abby's so lucky to have you, you know. It's not as direct and overt as it was before, but I guess that's where that's going. But I still wasn't sure about her not wanting to do the valets for Tyrone. It's just making her look pretty unpleasant, and I know she's always been unpleasant, but I've never been as down on Cassie as lots of other people have seemed to be. But I didn't really enjoy her this week.
No, I don't like her very much at the moment. I've been a big fan of her before, but she just kind of a bit pointless at the moment.
She's not adding, I'm gonna say, anything to this story. No, unfortunately,
at the moment. But
at the moment,
there are plenty of things where, you know, you think nothing's happening, and then it turns out big twists is coming down the pipe. So
it just feels like, well, she should be involved in the storyline because she works there. So what should we get her to do?
I just think this is going to end up with Kevin going off with Abby.
Cassie, quite possibly.
They can keep each other as far as I'm concerned. I think he deserves Cassie.
No.
Yeah. Why?
She's
not as good as Abby. Abby's better than Cassie.
Yeah, I know she is.
Well, then they should get married.
I just don't think that Kevin and Cassie suit each other at all.
Well, Kevin doesn't suit anybody, does he? Because he's a troll.
Yeah.
Right, so Dean shows up at the garage, who is the drug dealer friend, a colleague, associate of Abby's.
Yeah, this is the guy who got her the diazepam for Paul earlier this year.
And also the one who was drugging up with her when she gave birth to Alfie.
Yes.
So she's like, I don't want anything to do with you. But he wants money out of her because he's like, oh, people could find out more things about you than that I know that they don't know about. And she says, no, I'm not having it. Get lost. Don't come back. I'm not giving you any money. I'll remind you of what I'm truly capable of. And Cassie's overhearing this conversation, and she knows that there's been a little tete-a-tete.
Yeah.
So the production company later on released a statement saying, oh, sorry, that the documentary was a bit one-sided. We didn't really think about what everyone would think about us doing a documentary about how great murderers are. We'll reach out to the victims if we do another series. And Abby's like, too little, too late. Honestly, if they were smart, they would just do a second series and they'd just interview Abby and Nina and everyone about Seb. And do a documentary about Seb.
Well, especially if this particular episode has got people interested, it makes sense to latch onto it and release more content.
It's like Making a Murderer. When they did the first series and everyone's like, oh, that's sad. And then everyone's like, hang on, I think he probably did do it. And they were like, yeah, he probably did. Let's do a second series about that. So, Cassie's fannying about doing the valet work, and Tyrone has to go at her, and then he gets this email, very concerning, goes to number 13 and to see Abby, and he's, oh, this is a bit awkward, but I've downloaded this video onto my phone so I can watch it whenever I want.
Tyrone has revealed himself to be a bit of a perv this week.
But
because
he's also...
not only this, but in today's episode, when she finds out about the second set of videos, it's like, oh, Tyrone says that more videos has been released. Like, he didn't say Tyrone's received more videos through an email. It's literally, he must be
just there.
Combing this website now.
It's like, ping, oh, hang on, I've got a new video to watch. I'll be back in a minute. Can I borrow that tissue?
All I want to know is what Fizz thinks about all this.
What does she think?
Don't think Fizz would be too happy to hear that what Tyrone's been watching this week.
Well, he tells Abby that the email... Why is he downloading attachments from random emails? We need to have an internet safety conversation, Tyrone. Do not download attachments from people you don't know. But it is a sex tape with Abby on it. And she's like, no, I've never done that. And so she looks at it and she watches the video and it's definitely her. And she does not remember it, So she thinks that she was drugged out of her head when it was taken, and it must have been Dean that did it. I mean, it makes sense.
I do wonder, like, yeah, they can obviously be very, very realistic, but if this is... Would you recognise... Surely you would recognise your own naked body.
Michael,
they don't all look the same.
Look, let's not dwell too much.
No, I'm not victim blaming here.
No, I didn't say victim blame, did I?
No.
What are you saying that for?
No, I thought that's...
I said don't dwell on it because there are certain ways of framing a video where you see certain things and not. Let's not think about it.
I'll try not to think about it, but I can't help it. I suppose, I mean, it comes with all the tattoos on Friday's episode. That's the giveaway, but I don't know.
Abby on Friday's going, this isn't me, Kevin, but do you think I should get a dragon tattoo on my neck?
The thing is, Abby does have a load of tattoos, doesn't she? So it must have been, a really close up...
Can we stop talking about it?
Sorry, it's been just
going
through my head.
She saw the video and thought it was definitely hers, okay?
Yeah.
You don't need to think about it anymore.
Okay.
And I'm just going to say to Coronation Street, can you stop doing this, please? Can we stop having all these stories that are really uncomfortable to talk about? Don't want any more sex. Don't want any more drugs. Don't want any more anything that's going to lose its advertising. Right. So, Tyrone's seen the video. It's been put online, he tells her, and she's crying in her home. Over in the garage.
That was that nice shot from down the stairs, wasn't it, to the door?
What would Jack and Vera say?
Nothing, because they didn't live there. It's Hilda and Stan.
I know, but okay then. What would Hilda and Stan say?
We both said that to each other the other day, and we said we know what Stan would say. Stan would be all over that video.
I tell you what, you know how Stan was a feckless layabout? That was before the internet with pornography that's free was invented. He would never come out of the bedroom.
He wouldn't, he really wouldn't. Like that time in 1984 when he was consigned to his bedroom just before he popped his gloves.
He's just imagining the invention.
I'm fine, Harold. You don't need to... No, don't come in.
Jack willed me his copy of London Lovelies. That's a bit of a deep cut, isn't it? Right, so... she has a cry behind the door. Over at the garage, Cassie is dropping heavy hints to Kevin about how she can't believe what Abby's done this time, how embarrassed he must feel, etc. He doesn't know anything about this, does he?
What?
About the tapes?
No, he doesn't at that point.
So she's like, what are you? This
is how he finds out.
So then he goes home, and Abby immediately starts to try to tell him this news, which was, he should be quite pleased that she was going to hide it from him. She's going to tell him immediately. And she didn't say, wait, before you. Anyway, he already knows, and he says, you said you've been totally honest in your past and everything out in the open. Why did you lie to me?
I think that this part of the reaction is fair enough.
Well,
although, if you're going to marry somebody like Abby, who's got more of a past than others, it's fair to say.
No, you would have thought she would have mentioned it.
I don't know.
You can't.
I think that she's probably got a lot of skeletons in her closet.
No.
Why? Look at her. There's going to be lots of things she's done in her past, and some of them she's not going to remember. It wasn't part of their marriage vows to recount every little thing that she did in her past. But even so, I still get how he said, how he's feeling like, oh, why didn't you tell me? This bit I get. It was afterwards when, like he says, you've sunk to a new low. That was completely out of order.
Well, she's trying to tell him that she doesn't remember this, and... It really kind of... I mean, she was on the back foot. She didn't really know how to defend herself. But I wish she had made it more clear to him that this was not a video that was taken with her consent. She's a victim of a crime here. And he's just, not being very sympathetic at all because he's shocked too. I mean, I'm sure anyone would be. But Kevin just didn't handle it very well.
Yeah, it makes me wonder as well who the guy in the video was, and is that somebody that Abby would or wouldn't? I don't
like thinking about any of this. I think it's really disgusting. It's really horrible. So he gets up and leaves because he says, "I'm sorry, I just can't hack it." He keeps saying about, I can't get it out of my head and all this stuff. So he goes off, and Abby finds him in Victoria Gardens later. And it's a bit less tense. And then she sees Dev laughing at something on his phone. She's like, oh, you think it's funny, do you? And what was he looking at? It was something really silly.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It wasn't funny at all. It should have been like a cat playing frisbee or something, but no, it was something else.
Something tickled him.
Alone in the cat garage later, Abby phones Dean up, leaves him a message going, right, you planned to blind her with that today, meet me in the precinct tomorrow and I'll give you the money.
She didn't specify a time in the precinct. No. She just see me in the precinct tomorrow, so, he's probably staking out there all day. But it didn't matter because maybe it's the same when Kevin on Friday's episode goes to the precinct. It doesn't matter what time she may or may not have agreed to meet Dean, because if Kevin turns up, he's going to happen to be there at the exact same moment. So maybe
Dean was obviously just sat outside Sweet Enough nursing a milkshake all day long.
Yeah.
So on Friday, Abby's supposed to be feeding Alfie, but she's just looking on her phone because this video has gone on lots of websites and she's trying to get them to take it down. And
naughty websites.
Oh, no, just like random like CBeebies homepage. Kevin like offers to help her out, but he gets annoyed because she's so distracted with everything that's going on, and she makes him take Alfie to the nursery. Can't believe it. So he's in a right mood when he goes into the cafe later. He thinks everyone's looking at him. And Evelyn offers him sympathy.
Yeah, this is where Max comes in, doesn't he? I can't
remember. Max makes a joke or something.
He didn't. He didn't know about the video. He got very innocently makes a joke, and there's the brunt of Kev's rage.
Both Kevin and Abby are walking around all week going, "What? What are you looking at me for? Have you seen the porn video with Abby in it? Oh, you haven't? Oh, never mind then. Don't ask questions."
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how the other stories went down now, but Abby's wasn't the first person on Coronation Street to fall victim to this, because Maria had a deep fake. I don't remember if it was a picture or a video made of her just a few years back, didn't she? And I'm pretty sure Steph did as well.
Steph had revenge porn, which is different.
Oh, was that what it was for her? Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Well, this is what Abby thinks this is at the moment, even though actually, if she doesn't remember it happening, it's a rape video.
Yeah.
I
guess if for all the lessons we learned last year from Amy's story, if she was so out of it that she couldn't consent, then it is 100% that.
Of course it is. So, and Kevin's got the audacity to have a go at her about it. Anyway, he's over it. He was
so insensitive. Well, in Friday's episode, he had calmed down a bit, hadn't he? But is that
he's
in the gardens that
annoyed. He's just annoyed that he thinks he's paranoid. He's seen it, and what are they thinking, and are they making fun of him? And
get your hands off my woman.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Well, get your eyes off her.
Well, Cassie finds out from Kevin later that Abby didn't know about the video being filmed, and she's very shocked about it. And she says, "Oh, Dean's a scumbag," and I heard Abby say that she's going to pay him off on Friday, today at the precinct. And Kevin's like, "Oh, I better hurry up then, because it's probably about now that they're doing it." So he rushes off, and meanwhile, Abby has got Dean in the precinct in Scally's alley by a Scally's with a spanner. She's about to beat him to death with it. And he's saying, "I don't know what you're talking about. What video? I don't know what you mean." Kevin.
Yes, he probably when he went off, he probably is the next person to watch it.
Yeah, what search terms would I use to avoid it? I don't want to see it. What one specifically would it be? So she drops the spanner when Kevin runs over to pull them apart. And
do you think that pristine teeth is a category on these sites?
Yeah, probably. Kevin separates them. Dean runs away, calls her a mad cow. Abby speaks to the police, tells them it's Dean. They're questioning him, going through his devices. And then she gets a message from Tyrone. This is when she finds out 4 more videos have been put online. And she's watching them again. And Kevin's like, don't look at them. She says, no, it's up to me if I want to watch them or not. And she's looking, she's going, hang on, this isn't me. I don't have that tattoo on my leg. They're all fakes. They're deep fakes. And Kevin's like, oh my God, what's happened? Are we living in the future?
So how was the public service announcement scale for you this episode?
I just think...
with Lyme's disease at the very top of I am being lectured to here.
There's a generation of old men watching tonight's choreo going, I didn't know that you could... How do you learn? I want to know more.
Well, I've got no idea not how easy this kind of stuff is to do. I know that over the last few years with the advances of AI, it has become easier.
Well,
I don't know how easy it is, but Max seems to think it is.
Well, if it's anything like Photoshop, I won't be able to do it.
Well, there's all the image generation tools you can get now. You can clone people's voices and get one singer singing somebody else's song. So
this is what I worry about with us doing this, because our voices are now, you can't use our voice for security for anything.
No,
can we? So don't even try. We haven't set it up for that purpose specifically. So yeah, that's so creepy, because anyone can do this, and now we're coming up to election year in the UK and also in America, and there are so many videos that have been made or will be made. You won't be able to trust anything you see. Not that I think anyone's going to make porn tapes of Rishi Sunak and
Donald Trump
and Joe Biden, but there's already been a case in America of a police. It was a teacher. I'm going to get all the details wrong, but it's something along the lines of a teacher got fired because he did this racist rant about students in his school who were, all the stereotypes of what you would say about black students. Yeah. And it turned out, he was like, I didn't say any of this stuff. This is all AI. And I was like, don't be stupid. Of course it's not AI. That technology wouldn't be able to do that. And it turned out, it was the PE teacher or the coach or whatever at school hated him, and he literally made a deep fake of him being racist and got him fired.
Wow.
It's already happened. It's already happening.
But why isn't it everywhere though? Because if it's really that easy to do, why aren't we seeing this kind of thing, especially with it being election year, even if we know it was fake?
The same reason why people don't just steal things out of shops all the time. Yeah, you can do it, but it's illegal.
Yeah, but it's illegal. I don't know how, obviously making the porn videos is, or the sex videos, whatever you want to call them, but why aren't we seeing lots more videos of just AI celebs or whatever doing normal stuff? I still think that video AI is still in its infancy at some...
It's as soon as somebody thinks of doing something, that's when the floodgates open. It's like, this is why everybody has to put their carry everything in a 100ml bottle through security at an airport now, because nobody did anything for the decades and decades, and then as soon as they hijacked the planes and flew them into the Twin Towers, then everybody realised, actually, that's something you can do. Once people open the box, that's it. Once they set the agenda, there are so many things like that sets a precedence for that kind of behaviour, and then that's it. Everybody follows suit.
Tell you what, I want to know what the Institute would think about this, because there's a lot of crossover techno-babble between these two stories, aren't there?
Well, if you download your programming and re-upload it as a sex tape, then I don't know if you have to put it in a box in a cabin in the woods. I'm not really sure.
When people try to disparage the Institute, is it deep fake news?
I mean, that's what I say. Bring back porn in the woods. That's how kids used to see porn. That's how everyone. If you wanted to go see some rude pictures, you just walk around in the woods, and eventually you'd find a magazine stuck to a tree with naughty pictures in it, and that's how you would learn.
Back in the good old days.
Back in the good old days of porn in the woods. These days they don't print it out anymore, so you have to go on the internet, and that's why I feel bad for kids these days.
Don't get a good bit of fresh air at the same time.
No, exactly. You go for a walk and you learn things. Right, so Kevin has to have all of this explained to him, and he's like, but what about the election? She's like, I know, Kev, imagine. Don't use in certain search terms on those websites. You're going to find some very interesting videos of politicians. That's all I'm going to say to you. She goes to the police to tell them what she thinks has happened now. Kev goes and tells Cassie, and Max comes over and he says, look, Kev, sorry I made a joke earlier. I didn't know about the know what it's like to have damaging videos out there that people blame you for. Really, Max? Did somebody computer generate that video and say that you did it, or was it you?
I couldn't believe Max is.
He's got such a cheek, hasn't he? He's learned nothing. He really has no shame whatsoever. So he's like, if you want to chat, I'm here. I know what it's like. Later on, Kev tells Cassie that it can't have been Dean, and this made me laugh. It can't have been Dean because the videos were released when he was with the cops. Are you joking?
Can't schedule send those kind of things, can you?
Are you joking me? That's so simple-minded.
Well, let's just think we got Craig.
Craig's like, it can't have been him. He was here. I saw him.
Dean's like, sucker, as he leaves the station. Swain's like, Craig, you let him...
Craig.
You bloody idiot.
Right, anyway, so it must have been someone who really knows about computers. And then Kevin's like...
Only one person knows about computers on this street. And I'm not talking about Ken Barlow.
Meanwhile, we cut to... Yeah, we cut...
What? No, nothing.
You're just looking at me like really funny.
Oh, sorry.
Meanwhile, we cut to the Platts. And Max is annoyed because David's found a bag of Lauren's stuff under his bed. And he says, I'm sorry, I forgot they were there. And I don't know why this has been brought up, but it's, maybe the next...
for next week.
Maybe the necklace was in the bag.
No, of course it's not.
Well, why are they talking about her stuff then? Well, why has he got a bag of her stuff?
It might still be something that's a clue for the police next week.
It's going to be a clue, isn't it? That's why it's in there.
Yeah, probably. It's going to be something that will be helpful.
She's not a natural blonde. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
No, what?
This is just the start up to the scene where Kev starts hanging.
I know.
Oh, what was? I didn't. We should have gone back and look at the scene. I can't remember apart from hair dye what was in there.
I know, but why has he got hair dye? Why has he got hair dye?
Why not? It's her hair dye.
I know it's her hair dye, Michael. Why has he got her hair dye?
He said that she just left some stuff over his house one
Why
time.
would you dye your hair at someone else's house?
I don't know what people who dye their hair do.
No, I don't either. So,
we don't need to dye our hair.
No.
Yet. Getting close.
I used to dye my hair when I was younger, but...
You did go through a bit of a henna stage, didn't you?
It's never... My hair is so dark, no colour appears in it, no matter what I do.
You were going to try blonde at one point. Yeah. I remember. I was getting dead excited about it. You were saying, when I turn however old it was... I know you've said this
several times now, which is why I haven't done it, because it makes me uncomfortable how excited you were.
I thought it was funny how Sarah and David were like saying, does Max dye his hair? Like,
I was thinking, what? I was like, is Max's hair blonde?
It's blondish,
it's like
isn't it?
Sandy brown.
Yeah, it's dark blonde.
Nobody... Okay, right, anyway. We forget this is a red herring. So
it's not red, it's blonde.
I forgot they were...
It's a blonde herring.
That's a good heckler, isn't it? Red herring from Pan10. Kev starts hammering on the door.
That's what Glenda uses.
He comes in and starts accusing Max of deep faking sex videos and says, give me your computer. And Abby's like, sorry, my old granddad here's gone senile, got taken back to the home, and kind of like drags him off. Because Max is like, I wouldn't do that, I've got no reason to do it. Why would I do something like that? I don't know, why would you make a video saying that Muslims are like cockroaches and get someone stabbed? Don't know. Don't know why you do anything, Max, you weirdo. So Abby has a bit of a go at Kevin back at home. Says, I don't want anyone knowing about this. Now the Platts know there's videos about me. What is wrong with you? I don't know why they don't just make a little leaflet.
Oh, do you think they posted them on Platt Chat? Well, poor Audrey.
No, yeah.
Have to wash her eyes with... She'd be at the hair salon bleaching someone's hair and like sticks them in my eyes.
Well, I think Abby and Kevin should have asked Hope and Glenda to just distribute leaflets about the sex tape while they're doing little big shots at the same time, just so everybody knows. Just get it out in the open, everyone have a look, see, get it out of your system. So anyway, she just says, you're making it worse. She tells Nina in the cafe later, this is hopeless, police can only do so much. She needs to talk to Dev about it. Dev would be like, yeah, it costs you like 15 grand a month.
Yeah, easy. There are a surprising number of people on that one street that have had raunchy videos made of raunchy, them, distributed of them, naughty videos. Even though
it's not naughty, it's a video that was taken without your consent.
Without their consent, I know. But yeah,
and the fact is that these websites don't. I mean, everyone likes to think that these big name websites are also ethical and they, it's all above board and everyone's having fun. No, that's not the case at all. They're flooded with stuff that is completely illegal and unethical, and you should think about what it is that you're watching and whether you want to support that. But that's just down to you, isn't it? Anyway, meanwhile, Cassie's pouring poison into Kevin's ear and kind of like giving backhanded compliments to Abby, going, "Oh, she's so lucky to have you," and bigging up Kevin and trying to undermine Abby.
Yeah. So, do you think there's an answer to who's responsible for these videos?
Yeah, I think it's something to do with Corey.
I mean, It's kind of got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah,
either
so
him
it's
or one of his mates.
Corey's dad or something.
Well, yeah, Brent is in publishing, isn't he?
Exactly. I mean, same with me. I know exactly how to deepfake a sex tape and where to distribute it for maximum effect.
It can't have been Corey himself, what with him being banged up and just busy with his kicking a football around. But yeah, I suppose if somebody saw Abby's video and then took a disliking to it...
Well, know, with the amount of access that prisoners seem to have to phones and things that they shouldn't have, I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't deepfake videos from your prison cell.
Yeah. But whoever it was is must have a real axe to grind, because fair play, make one, get it off your chest, get your enemy people tongues wagging about them, but then to release another 3, you gotta really want to see them suffer. Or maybe you just that was quite fun actually, I'm gonna make a few more.
I think it's really sweet how little hatred you have in your heart.
Yeah, I do.
Because I can totally see, not that I would ever do this, but I can totally see myself hating someone enough to do it. Sorry, I keep hiccuping.
But I just don't think that video enough would have inspired or would have elicited that level of hatred from anybody.
Yes, because if you're Corey's mum or dad, or brother or friend or whatever, and he's there and he's trying his bestest to put everything behind him, and it wasn't his fault. It was horrible Seb that made him. It was just provoked him. It wasn't his fault. And then he tries really hard to be a footballer, and then this horrible lady comes and reminds everybody. Then you would be like, no, listen, you put yourself... Okay, right, I'm going to tell you. I've been listening to this podcast called In Your Own Backyard, which is a true crime podcast about a guy, and this is a spoiler for the end of it, but it's in real life, so I don't know if there are spoilers for real life. But he's investigating this disappearance and presumed murder of a student in America by this guy. And everybody knows this guy's done it. And the family of this guy is protecting him. And along the way, as they're protecting him from being found out as the killer, this victim... They keep there's all these missing posters and stuff, and they keep tearing the posters down. And anytime anyone talks to them about this missing girl, they call her a slut and say all these horrible things and say that she was nasty and she deserves what's happened to her. And they literally this family hated this girl for nothing more than being the victim of the son of the family. She didn't do anything to them, but they hated her so much because of what he had done and what the implications of that are. So I can totally see somebody who is close to Corey hating Abby for besmirching his name, is what they would think of it as.
I suppose it depends on how easy the videos are to make as well, whether you're just going to keep bashing them out.
It takes us, sometimes takes us 20 minutes to make a 60-second short on YouTube for the what's it called?
The Street Talk Short.
The Street Talk Short. That takes us ages. I can't imagine how long it takes to deep fake. We should get these guys to do a deep fake podcast for us.
So now we've seen the first week of this story, and this is the most we've seen of Abby for years, almost, I would say. At least a good year. How are you feeling about this is how they're bringing Abby back to the forefront of the show?
I don't like the subject.
It is more kind of throw more grief and sadness and trauma at the one of the most talented actresses, just so we can get her to have a little cry. And she's very, very good at it.
Sordid, isn't it? It's just sordid and gross. And I think I think they think it's trendy. Oh, it's something... it's
something we can all relate to.
I mean, no. I don't
know. I half wish that they'd gone with something completely different for her comeback story, but at the end of the day, I'm surprised. At least I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would when I saw that this was coming up. But I don't need the Cassie angle in it at all.
I just find it terrifying because any woman could be the victim of this because that's what the world is like.
The Cassie stuff is similar to what we're going through with Nick and Toya in the Institute story. It's just this lingering affair that I do not want. That I do not want to happen, and is partially getting in my way of the enjoyment of the story itself, because I'm just worried when this is going to blow up.
What's getting in the way of the Cassie and
Cassie and Kevin is getting in the way of enjoying the Abby drama.
Though, they can't do anything. without having an affair on the end of it, can they? They can't.
No. I'm wondering, has Jack seen this video?
Well, I'm not going to say.
If they're going on about it so much, you might be a bit curious. That's all I'm saying. Right. Okay. So it was an all right story. Sally Carman, fantastic. Kevin, what a git. Why didn't they bring Corey back into it properly? I don't know. Do you think? Are we like 2 weeks away from potential Abby's twins coming onto the show now? Not those twins.
They're not going to bring that. This is going to be, I think, Fallout.
Oh yeah, I suppose
they'll say we're not having them around you.
Yeah, of course that makes sense. They're not gonna want to.
And she'll go, how much more do you have to take away from me? Like that.
God, trauma.
Corey.
Right. I hope that she soon is able to rise above it and come out triumphant.
Imagine if next week we get to see we've got Griff has come back, we've got Nathan's come back, we've got
Corey in name only.
Corey's been mentioned.
We got Dean. We got
Stefan comes back.
Well, yeah.
And then they have a big Weatherfield Villain Society annual meeting. Maybe that's what's happening. They're all in town for the big meetup.
New use for the community centre. Griff gets a discount for using it before.
Yeah, he's going. Look, guys. Do you mind if I use my loyalty card? Because if I'm one stamp away from getting a free Roy's Rolls coffee.
I know that I have mentioned this to you before, but I don't think I've said it on the podcast. But although it's not really anything like what I imagined, my pitch at the beginning of the year for the Bathroom Bomber of bringing back all these classic villains that are still alive from Corey's history.
Do you think
it's not a million miles away from this? Do you
think he's manifested it somehow?
I think maybe I have. It's not exactly the same thing. But I said they'll bring back there'll be like a mystery revolving around all these villains who would come into the show and you were going, is it them? Is it them? This is kind of exactly it. Different villains, different context. I wish I'd made it a prediction now and not just a pitch.
Well, I mean, pitches, predictions, who can say which is which?
Too true. Just before we move on, I just wanted to say about Sue Cleaver. She's getting a bit of experience and a bit of fakery online, isn't she, at the moment? Do you remember a few months ago we reported on the fact that there are sites or pictures or whatever claiming that she's advocating for these diet pills? And she's like, no, this has nothing to do with me. She just put something on her Instagram earlier on today saying, or was it yesterday? I don't know. Saying there are videos now doing the round, fake videos of me saying, yeah, go get these diet pills. There's nothing to do with me. Look at it carefully. Look at the video. Does it look blurry? Does the mouth match with what's been saying? Is the voice my voice? They apparently got this Australian voice coming out of Sue Cleaver's mouth. I've not seen any of these videos, but I suppose it's kind of, I guess it's kind of.
See, this is what you know. You're saying, why aren't people doing it? They are.
Yeah, I guess so. Just seems like on Coronation Street everybody sees it, and I've not seen these ones, so I don't know.
That's because you don't live in the same street as us.
Oh yes, of course. Right, let's do the new kid on the block story. So Dev and Bernie are talking about feeding tubes at the beginning of Monday's episode, because this was Paul's big change on Monday, wasn't it? He was going into the hospital to get his tube in his tum. He can still see that Bernie's down about everything that's going on with Zach or Kit or whatever you want to call him. It was supposed to be Zach's birthday today, Bernie says, so it's very timely.
She thinks
he's
died.
Yes, exactly. She thinks, the last thing that we left with her was that she'd found this Christopher Green dead. Must be him.
Found him dead on the floor.
Yes. So Dev says, look, you could light up a candle like I do with Sunita. Meanwhile, Paul's feeling a bit anxious before getting all tubed up at the hospital. Billy's making everything lovely for him, so they load themselves into the car.
Making everything lovely for him?
Well, giving him a nice morning. Before he goes off to get his tube stuck in his stomach. So I kind of had a different idea in my mind, but maybe I wasn't paying attention before about the feeding tube. It is literally something that puts the food straight into your stomach, isn't it? Rather than
Shelley had one. She had like a nose thing.
Mm. Yeah, I didn't. Was that for food, or was that I didn't know whether that was like an oxygen Like, I'm not sure, I don't remember. But anyway, so that's what he's getting done today. So they head off to the hospital. But while that's going on, Bernie spots that some policemen are towing her car away. There's no MOT on it.
But it's only just run out that morning.
So this is yet another case of a Coronation Street resident only acquiring a car for the scene where she needs one. Although, no, it was when they went out on the road before, it was a camper van that she'd borrowed, wasn't it? But for, she's got a car apparently, and it's now getting towed because it's past its MOT, and Kit's driving past looking at her, so she clearly thinks that he's behind all this, and she's fuming as Bernie in the shop later. She's like, this Christopher guy, because she obviously doesn't know that this is her son. He's got it in for me. I can't believe this is a coincidence that he was there. I'm going to make a stand about this. Monday's episode really was about the Corrie matriarchs standing up for themselves and making a fuss, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So while Abby's busy storming over to the TV production studios, Bernie's marching down to the cop shop, giving her details and saying, well, I want to know what's going on here. I shouldn't have had that taken away. One of your officers has got it in for me. Speaking of the devil, here comes Kit into the office, and it's his birthday. Craig comes and gives him a birthday cake, and Abby's like, hang on a minute.
Wait.
You're Christopher Green and it's your birthday today. I think you're my son. So, truth's out. They have a little chat in the soft interview room. All quite tense between them, but Bernie's trying to make amends. She desperately wants to have Christopher Kit, well, can we just call him Kit now, as part of her life. But he's not interested in the slightest. She's like, well, you might be my biological mum, but I'm not your son. I don't want anything to do with you. What do you reckon about him completely wanting to cast her adrift and have no contact whatsoever?
I totally understand why, but it doesn't make me like him.
He's been hanging around. He's been loitering quite a lot round her in the past week for somebody that doesn't want her at all in her life. His life, I mean.
Yeah, he's... I guess he's curious, and that totally makes sense, but he doesn't... Yeah,
He doesn't owe it to her to be curious, and I think somebody in Bernie's position might be like, "Well, I want to know you, so of course you. Why don't you want to know me?" But there's no. I'm just saying, there's no natural reaction. Just I get that, but I get that Bernie would think, "I want to know you, so of course you want to know me," but that's not true at all.
Well, it is true because he's been hanging around her. I don't get your point. They're both curious about each other.
Yeah, but he says he doesn't want to be part of her family.
That doesn't mean you don't want to know about.
I suppose
them. Those are two completely different things.
She wants.
He's been nosing around all her. He's been looking her up, hasn't he, on the database.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to be part of the family, but she does want him to be part of the family. Yeah, those are
two different things.
Okay, well, that's what I meant. Anyway, he's clearly got these issues with her abandoning him as a child.
Yeah, of course you would.
And he also brings up the fact, and I never really quite got this, that she made contact with him 10 years ago when he was 21. Mm-hmm. So I'm confused. Why was she still hunting him down this week or this past week when she had already been in contact with him 10 years ago?
How did she get in contact with him?
Did she lose his phone number or something? Or was it through the adoption agency? I
don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know whether they mentioned it, but it must have been obvious, because it seems like such a mega contradiction that she had no idea who he was one week, but then it turned out she'd already found who he was and where he lived 10 years ago. I don't know. Maybe we're not supposed to think too much about that. So,
well, maybe we're supposed to know because we should have paid attention.
Maybe we should have been paying attention more. If anybody wants to explain that to us, please write us in on a postcard. So, he just wants to end this conversation. She's saying, "Look, I'm not proud of what I did. I didn't have any money. Thought you'd be better off with another family." And he's like, "No, I don't want to. Everything that's been said, that needs to have been said, has been said. Sorry, I don't want to know you." So she goes off with a tail between her legs.
I feel so sad for her.
I know. Yeah, but I think Jane Hazelgrove's acting definitely sells it.
Yeah, definitely. I think we forget how much of a reformed character Bernie is now, though, because she was awful. Well, not that long ago. As a mum.
I'm trying to remember just what she was like when she came in, and I really struggle. I definitely love Bernie now, but I know I didn't quite so much in the early days. This story about her not turning up for Kit, isn't that what happened when Gemma and Paul first heard from her when Bernie came into the show? I seem to remember there being a scene where she said that she'd meet them at the park, and they then on the red wreck, and they went and waited for her, but she didn't turn up.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So that's that. I guess that's her MO. She just says she bottles it.
Well, she said she got completely drunk because she obviously it was on her mind the night before, and she was trying to forget about it, and then she was, still drunk the following day, so that's why she didn't meet up with him.
I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for her in this case.
No, I know.
Because all three of them, when she didn't turn up for Paul and Gemma as well, they're your kids. I know. And that's really letting them down.
That's why it really made it hard. It really made it hard to watch. But I will give Coronation Street props for this, actually, because it would have been so tempting for them to have put some random stupid excuse in there that made Bernie look like a great human being. Like, oh, I couldn't come that day because that was the day that a woman had a heart attack on the bus and I had to go with her to the hospital because she had nobody. And then I spent the next year nursing her back to health. You know what I mean? That's the sort of thing they normally put in there, but this is what I've been saying before about Coronation Street being brave enough to make characters that are supposed to be likeable, make them do bad things or have bad opinions. And this certainly is Bernie at her worst, isn't it?
Yeah, but I suppose the difference with Bernie is we're only hearing about how it was. We've not seen any of that direct side of Bernie.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
So they can make up whatever they want for her past.
Yeah, they can. But she's not contesting it, and it's definitely what happened.
Anyway, so that's all done.
Yeah, you're right. She's not like it now.
She's left the police station. She turns up at the hospital. Paul's there. He's had his op. He's had his food tube put in. He's pretty chirpy about it. Bernie doesn't want to tell him about Kit. This we say this is Paul's story, but Paul's just kind of become a side character in his own story, hasn't he? Like they clearly planned out, over the course of his time with MND. This is what he'd have happen at this stage. This is what he'd have happen here. But the food tube thing really did feel like, well, you can't have a food tube at some point. Like, can we just shove it in among Bernie's story? And I think that they're really doing Paul a bit of a disservice here.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to say something about this too, because Coronation Street was so brilliant at making Paul the central focus of the MND story. And although we didn't experience what he was experiencing, we were right alongside him and feeling it's the sadness but the happiness and the joy of being alive with him.
Yeah.
And all these special moments that he was not taking for granted anymore, and the ups and the downs, mostly downs, but things are getting worse and worse every week for him, and it feels like we're not experiencing it with him.
And it's not a case of Peter Ash can't cope with it.
No.
He's having whenever he is in a scene, he's having to act that much harder than everyone else because of the voice, because of how he holds himself. It's a really, really tough job, but that shouldn't mean that he's in fewer scenes.
Like when he's had to have his food pureed and stuff, it was all. It felt like he was being brave, and he was just like, I don't mind, I knew this would happen. And then when he's had his food tube in, I don't mind, I knew this would happen. But what is he really feeling about it? He can't be okay with it. No one's okay with something like this happening.
Well, they gave a bit of reference to it. They gave it lip service, I suppose, in that scene with him and Billy before going into hospital. It's like, oh yeah, let's show that he's worried. Anyway, back to Bernie.
I know, but...
And I do like Bernie.
I was expecting to have a scene where he was saying things like, I'll never get to eat this again. I'll never get to eat that again. I'll never taste this. I won't be able to do that. Like, all the things he's missing out on, that's hugely significant. And I feel like the character's been cheated, and I feel as though the M&D storyline is suffering a little bit because, I don't know, are they too scared? Are they too squeamish? I
don't think it's that. I think that...
I know, but maybe they're thinking, well, the worst is yet to come. We'll spare you this because, you're going to have that.
Isn't it just another case of Ian McLeod wanting to storyline to the max and say, well, it can't just be this happen, but also we've got to have this and this and this.
And it's such a shame.
So many complications in the story have revolved around, let's add a little bit of extra Bernie drama in there that has been kind of exciting to an extent at the time.
But it should be about Paul. And I love Bernie. But it shouldn't be about Bernie. It should be about Paul.
And it now does not feel like the right time for her to discover or her to come into contact with her son again. I mean, I'm sure I do trust Coronation Street that there's a reason why now is the time that Kit has to come into the show. I mean, for heaven's sake, he's working on the Lauren case and that's soon to be reaching its climax. So no doubt we'll see some of Kit next week. But yeah, well, I hope we do see more Paul.
I think it should be Paul centric.
Yeah, I mean, they've already kind of shoved Summer off to America, haven't they? Because they say, "Oh, I don't know what to do with her. I barely know what to do with Paul in the storyline, let alone Summer."
Are we heading towards some kind of big heart to heart with? But he's losing his speech. If they're gonna have him say anything, they're running out of time for it because.
Yeah, but he can still use his.
Yeah, but it's not going to be the same, is it? It's not going to be the same. I just think, what does he think about this? I don't know because they haven't told me. I can imagine, but I just shouldn't have to imagine.
Yeah, I mean, again, they could just be winding up to something. I still have got no idea how long Paul's got left in the programme. I'm not going to say this is a spoiler to say it because it doesn't technically mean anything, but Peter Ash did have some new headshots put on social media this week, and that is generally what happens when you've kind of left the show, when you've done... You
need new work.
Yeah, so, take that what you like, and it's nobody's under any delusion that Paul isn't, or that Peter isn't leaving the programme.
Yeah, we all know.
We were convinced that... at one point it would be around Britain's Got Talent week, didn't we? I don't see him shuffling off this mortal coil next week, so...
Well, I mean, to be blunt and not very tactful, there's only so much you can do with a character who can't really speak. I mean, I know you say he's got his voice thing and that's definitely something, but it's the pacing and the conversation is not going to be as easy with him using that. I mean, obviously we'd all have one, wouldn't we? Nobody would bother speaking if it was that easy.
I still think that looking back to how things were with this storyline a year ago, I still think that he's deteriorated and they're showing the real the deterioration of his body and voice and everything is going a lot further than I thought it might do, because we were saying, how are they going to portray this? And
Peter Ash doing a fantastic job.
He's doing brilliantly.
He needs to be the main focus. I want to know what he thinks, what he's going through.
I don't want it to be a case of we don't see much of him until, and this is a total Corrie thing to do, the beginning of the final filming block, when it's just like, right, this is the 3-week ramp up that's going to end in him dying. 3 weeks isn't enough to see him have his last hurrah.
I'm not happy with how they're handling it.
Have to wait and see. I would still say it's the story that is my favourite. That's
exactly right. But they've done such a brilliant job up until this point, and 2 massive milestones have kind of gone unexamined.
Anyway, so
because eating is one of the biggest things, it's such a human social thing, and now he's shut out from it. What does he think? Of course we know what he thinks, but I want to hear it from him.
Yeah. So, back to the star of the story, Bernie. She goes back to the corner shop and tells Dev everything that happened at the police station with Kit. She's like, I've met my son, he hates me. And she says, look, well, there's nothing I can do.
Dev's like, join the club.
Dev says, she says, I need to concentrate on the twins now. Yes, you do. She says, I made my decision 31 years ago and now I have to live with the consequences. So that's the end of Monday's episode. Wednesday, she's still pretty down about what happened with Kit, but she's trying to move on. She's buying some cinnamon so that she can make some essential oil diffusion burner thing. I don't know what it is, for Paul. So he's waiting outside the hospital, is Paul, later in that episode. This is the second use of the ITV studios in a week, when some git comes and drives in the car parking
Billy's
space that Billy was going to use.
Yeah, to get close to
he's trying to reverse him. Yeah, and somebody comes along and then Kit just so happens to be there, just so coincidentally.
And the bloke's like, what? I don't care. I'm not... How do you know I'm not disabled?
Yeah, and he sends him on his way, doesn't he? And wishes...
Well, he says, I'm a policeman, get bent.
Yeah, because he says to the guy, "Where's your badge?" And he's like, "I haven't got it. How's this for a badge?" And he shows him his policeman. He wishes Paul good luck on his recovery, doesn't he? He must know that he's not going to recover, but what do we get?
I thought he meant recovery from his operation to have his feeding tube put in.
Oh, yeah, I guess that would make sense.
Because Paul didn't go, "Oh, I'm not going to," actually. He said, "Oh, thanks."
Well, maybe it's too much to explain. I mean, if a stranger says that to you in the street...
I also think it's not really a great thing to potluck say outside a hospital.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, they're back home later. Paul's knackered. He's not too keen on these essential oils that Bernie has put together. They're somewhat pungent.
I don't think I'd want to smell food.
That's why she's doing it. She's got a good heart.
It reminds me of ghosts.
I was just going to say that, yeah. The ghosts
they like
can
smelling
smell
things.
Because they can't eat it.
Like smelling food.
Yeah, but this is a little bit too strong. And so they tell her earlier with what happened with this parking space and their mystery policeman saviour. And Bernie's like, So she goes over to the station and thanks Kit for this. And he's like, yeah, it's no biggie. But doesn't mean I need you to come here. Please leave me alone. And she's like, no, please give me one more chance to explain myself to you. So he comes round to number 5 later. That's
so weird that he went to her house.
Yeah, I suppose it does show that he is a bit curious and maybe he's just...
he's full of hot air if he thinks... Yeah.
Maybe he does want to know, but he's too scared of getting close to them or something. But anyway, she says, look, you're my family. He says... You mean less than nothing to me. But she's got an idea to try and help change his mind, and it's to go and get her special tin, which she's storing at Dev's house at the moment, and it's got all the bits that she's saved from all over the years. Was there like birthday cards in there? I
think it was letters that she never sent.
Oh yeah, that's right, I think. And they bring up this time when she was supposed to have met him 10 years ago and she didn't, and this is where it all comes out about her being too drunk to go and see him, and he ends it saying, I'm glad I was adopted, I had a lucky escape. What?
I mean, what are you supposed to say? Yeah, understandable, Mum.
I think he's just being made out to be a nasty piece of work, and it's interesting that he's been put on this Lauren case, because which is already collecting its fair share of villains. Is Kit...
A villain.
Is Kit the Neil Clifton to, there was a baddie on the force then.
Oh.
And this.
I mean, Ken's son was a homophobe. Why don't they make Bernie's son into a child abuser?
It does feel a little bit like possibly Ian McLeod was saying, things aren't going too well for Corrie at the moment. Let's bring back some old stories that people used to like, and maybe it's been copied. I wouldn't be surprised if some things like that were copied. What if one of the groomers, if it's to do with Nathan or whatever, is on the force?
I see what you mean.
Maybe.
I don't think that him not rejecting his biological mum makes him probably...
No, but there were nicer ways that he could have done it.
Ring.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I know. Saying. It kind of... He's obviously really full of hatred, which is sad. I don't know what it's like to be adopted, obviously. I can imagine that it gives you a bit of an, inferiority complex, maybe sometimes. And you're thinking, why did my mum not want me? And maybe you fantasize as a child about what you would say.
I suppose after the rejection 10 years ago, that's just going to
you'd be really burned, wouldn't you? That would really fester, I think. And then, maybe he's just, he's fantasised about telling her, I reject you, actually. That's what it is. You thought you reject me? No, I'm rejecting you. So you can play at that game.
Yeah, just get his own back on her.
You don't get to pick when we're family, because you should have been my family from the beginning, and you blew it.
Yeah.
You blew it twice.
Yeah.
I can see why he's mad, but because we like Bernie so much, it's difficult to watch, isn't it? And it doesn't make him likeable.
No, it certainly doesn't. That was kind of it for the Kit side of the story. On Friday, it's just got it's back to the Oak Hill snobbery side of things again, and Joseph's supposed to have some friends round, but it turns out that they go along to the bistro instead, and Gemma and Bernie think it's because that their house is such a tip compared to Christopher's mansion.
Well, it is.
Yeah, but
Linda, they blame Linda, but it was actually Joseph's idea.
Yeah, but Glenda G's up Gemma a little bit in the pub later, doesn't she? And says, "Don't worry, they'll love you when they meet you."
Oh, and also Linda threatens that she's moving to Manchester.
Oh yeah, she says she's going to have a little bolt hole.
She's going to get a bolt hole. You just know that this bolt hole is going to be best part of £1 million, don't you?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of it for this story. Oh, I did want to give a quick shout out to the particularly hairy Kiwi callback that was there on was that Monday's episode or Wednesday? I can't remember, where Mary's holding the Kiwi and says, "I just can't help but remember your naked calendar shoot."
When I was at the allotment today, I was looking at our fuzzy peaches, and I thought, I literally in my head, I was like, a particularly hairy Kiwi.
Reminded you of Dev, did it?
Did.
Okay, so for this story, kind of enjoying it, but it is tainting a story that I was enjoying more.
It's difficult because I kind of want Bernie to turn around and say, "Well, stuff you then," but that's not very healthy, is it? Or good for anybody. Seeing Bernie sad is difficult, and it's hard for her too because she's going to lose 2 sons.
Yeah, but at least she got Gemma, eh? That's all I need. Just all you need is a Gemma in your life, and you're set.
I mean, I also felt bad for Joseph. I think anybody who's trying to tell Gemma and Bernie that's fine, that house is fine, and love and happiness and good-naturedness and being happy is enough to get a bunch of snobby little kids to think that your house doesn't matter. You're barking up the wrong tree. These kids are all going to be snobby. They're all going to be shocked. I bet you none of them have seen the inside of a house like that before in their lives. If they're going to private school, they just don't. They're only kids. They don't really understand.
Yeah.
And they're going to be. They're going to make fun of him, or they'll be shocked.
I thought that.
Or they'll wonder where the rest of the house is.
I thought one of the harshest remarks was when Linda comes home and says, "Well, it would have taken ages to clean up this mess after Bernie and Gemma had all spent all day tidying."
Like maybe Coronation Street is going to do some twee little nonsense when the kids are like, "We don't mind, we just like Joseph for who he is." Like, no, kids won't do like that.
What is this thing? Fish fingers.
Do you mean cod goujons? You know that they would be horrible about it. You know they would.
Right.
They're not going to understand.
Can we talk about? Can we move on to the Roy story?
Yes.
And our little return for the Griffmeister. Yeah, it is.
On Wednesday. This gave us a bit of a fake out, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
And we weren't the only ones, I think, that found this.
Well, it was supposed to be, and it certainly worked.
So on Wednesday, Stu asks Nina how Roy is doing in prison, and she tells him not very good, but because he's on his own so much. And then we get to see, and Stu's like, Then in the prison, Roy's minding his own business in his cell, and then this bloke comes in, wittering away, and sits down. And he's like, "Oh, we've got a mutual friend." And Roy gets really freaked out and stressed. And he, David Nilsson's really good at playing Roy like this, just kind of on the verge of completely losing control.
Well, you could tell that he was on the verge before Roscoe even came in, because he's just playing desperate chess with himself, isn't he? And turning the board around.
He's like, "Get out! You're not allowed in here. I didn't say you could come in here." And he's really stressed out. And later on, the guy is talking through the door, which is closed, going, "I'm sorry about earlier. I want to be your friend." And Roy's like, "Go away. I don't want to fraternise with anybody right now." And the guy says, "I've got an ulterior motive." And he tells him, "I'm Roscoe. I'm a friend of Stu's. I knew him when we were in the Navy together. I don't know why you didn't know him from when he was in prison." He says, and Roy lets him in. And Roscoe says, "Look, I know you're struggling. I've got your favourite book here, but I only got it out of the library, so you've got to take it back." Gives it to him. And Roy's very grateful. Phones up Mary, very cheerful about having made a new friend, and asks and says to Mary, "Tell Stu thank you for sending me a new friend." And she's like, "Oh, he's here right now. I'll tell him." And we were both expecting him to say, but I didn't send anybody.
I didn't send your friend, man.
But he did.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, good, I'm glad Roscoe's your friend.
Yeah, I just kind of want to rewatch the episode now because even by the end of this episode, even when Stu said, "Oh yeah, that was me, you're welcome," I was still thinking, but is it?
I was like, did he kill the real Roscoe and stole his identity? Yeah. I still don't believe it.
I think that Roscoe is a good guy now because he was there on Friday, wasn't he, chessing it up with Roy. And I think that the purpose of the Roscoe character is that when Roy, Griff's going to go after Roy, isn't he? We saw the knife, the blade, the glass blade at the end of the episode. Roscoe's going to be there to rescue Roy, isn't he? Or indeed, he might be stabbed himself. I mean, Roscoe, 50-50 on whether he's going to survive next week.
Yeah. If I was Roscoe, though, I'd be saying to Stu, I don't want to be friends with this guy, he's weird. And I think he might have killed that girl. I want to know, what is Roscoe in for?
Yeah, what?
Are they going to make a documentary about him and then Abby will start crying and doing a video about it? On Friday...
Too much prison in this show.
Roy has his chess game with Roscoe. He phones Evelyn up and she says, let's do a book club.
Quite a nice idea, I thought. Phone book club?
Phone book club.
Yeah. You looked through the phone book together. Oh, what did you think of the A's?
Oh, it's always an aardvark, isn't there? There's always an aardvark in there. So then we get cut to Dee Dee, and also she was being consulted by everybody, wasn't she?
She's a busy woman.
Abby was asking her about stuff as well. Does Adam not work anymore? Anyway, Dee Dee...
He's too busy pining for Alia. The business is going down the pan.
Oh yeah, probably. Joel's back, everybody.
Just in time for next week.
Dee Dee tells him that the linguistic expert who's supposed to be analysing these text messages to prove that it wasn't Roy that sent them, they're backed up and it's going to take 3 months for them to actually look at this stuff. Then she hasn't told Nina about this because she's worried about what's going to happen to Roy in prison. And Joel says, it's not your fault, you're great, you can do it. And so she decides to phone the prison and tell them to put more protection onto Roy.
Yeah, I think she also kind of she phone or get a hold of the linguistics people as well and say, no, please faster? Do quicker. And then they say,
yeah, we're going to go on holiday for 3 months, but I'll do it before I go then. Then we get to see a return. We already spoiled it earlier in the podcast. Griff. That's right, the racist, evil Griff. He's back.
Did they actually say where he was back from? I guess he's just been transferred to another prison.
And he says to a guard, "Do you miss me?" Because he's cheeky like that, isn't he? Mm-hmm. So,
we only said I was kind of a bit miffed at how little of Griff we saw, and he was this cliffhanger in the midway through the episode, it was scenes and scenes and scenes again until we get to see him, and all we saw basically was Griff. Arriving into his room. Then there was the scene where he's at the top of the steps, where the waiting area is, and he sees Roy and he's like, hang on a minute, isn't that Roy Cropper, the one who murdered Lauren Bolton? And at the very end of the episode, he's there with his glass blade that he's going to
shank him with. He was looking menacingly over at Roy, which I thought was great.
What I want to know is, I get how you smuggle a phone into prison up your bum, but how do you do that with a glass blade? Seems a bit painful.
Vaseline.
Do you want to talk about Griff's return now, or should we wait until...
I haven't got that much longer to talk, Michael, if you don't mind.
All right.
Let me just say what the rest of the things that happen. Very simple. Roy and Evelyn have their book meeting over the phone. And then he has to put his phone down because he gets a visitor. It's Dee Dee. She says the linguistics expert have told him to pull his finger out and he's going to do it next week. And Roy's like, hooray! And then Dee Dee goes to the cafe and tells Evelyn and Nina and they say, hooray!
That's that. So all setting things nicely into place. The chess pieces, if you like, for Roy's big checkmating next week.
Oh my God!
I don't know what's happening to Roy next week, but yeah,
he's going to get shanked.
So are we supposed to think that Griff wants to have it out with Roy because he believes that Roy killed Lauren, and Griff used to be, Griff was close to Lauren. She was his little
I totally
underling.
forgot. That's so stupid. stupid. I'm like,
so he's taking revenge on Roy for
yeah,
Lauren's sake, which means that does Griff have nothing to do with Lauren's disappearance?
Of course he doesn't. We asked him ourselves.
Yeah, I suppose this has got people who want to know this. So when we met Mikey Condren a couple of months ago when we were over in Belfast, he did not let on at all
of course he
that he was going to come back. We found out about this a couple of weeks ago, not long before most of the rest of you did, that he was going to come back. And immediately texted him. He's like, you didn't tell us. And he's like, yeah, good. He said he had to sign an NDA. What was the morning that he met us? we talked for about an hour. Yeah. Most of which was talking about Corrie. And I did wonder, why do you want to talk about Corrie so much?
When he was saying, oh, if they asked me back, I'd definitely go, or definitely go back anytime.
I couldn't remember what he said.
Yeah, he did.
And I'm sure he was asking us about the Lauren storyline as well, so I guess he was getting the feelers out.
I wish I could remember
what we thought about. And we even got him to do that video in character as Griff. And when we asked him, do you want to do that video? There was just a slight bit of, oh, really? And then he did it.
Yeah, so the video, if you haven't seen it, is Michael saying... What did you say?
Oh, it was me saying, I've been sent here by DS Swain to find out if Griff had anything to do with Lauren's disappearance. Where were you on the night that she was taken away? And he goes, she was in prison.
I was in prison, yeah.
I was in prison, yeah.
And you went, case closed.
Yeah.
And then it's a joke.
And so he knew when he was doing that he was literally days...
Well, no, he was going that day. He literally flew out that day. He told us.
He told us, I'm going over to the UK to film something.
Going over, yeah.
But I don't remember even what he told us he was going to film.
No, he didn't. He didn't ask. I make it a point of not prying because I know that very often people aren't allowed to say, so I don't ask.
Right, but he was literally going to go and film Coronation Street, and we had no idea. So we spent the best part of a morning with this guy who had this big secret. Well,
there's so many times this has happened, though.
What do you mean?
There's so many times you guys know that we know loads of actors, and there's so many times they know stuff, and they know that we would lose our heads if we knew what they know.
It's so funny.
But this is why I think us having a spoiler-free podcast and not wanting spoilers is an advantage. It's a massive disadvantage in many ways because it means that we don't get as many views, we don't get as many listens. There are loads of stuff we can't talk about on the show. Sometimes that you find out by accident or on purpose. But it makes it much easier to talk to people on the show because we're not hassling them or pressuring them or expecting them to tell us stuff. They just don't want to know. So I think, in a way, that makes it a bit more of an easier relationship if you want to speak to somebody.
And when we met Mikey, we didn't think, I wonder if he's coming back. No. We talked to him completely natural. We thought, well, of course he's not going to come back. He's in prison. There's no need for him to come back.
Wonder how long he would be in prison for.
Yeah.
If Max is in the show still when he comes out, then maybe he'll come back then.
So I reckon that he's going to go after Roy. Roscoe is going to jump in and protect him. Possibly, Roscoe dead at the end of it. But is he somehow involved in Lauren's disappearance? Because
who?
Griff.
Of course he isn't.
He can't be. But I think that we're supposed to wonder.
The very fact of the matter that he's going to go after Roy for killing her, it's obvious that he hasn't had anything to do with it.
But could he be doing it to?
No, he's not that smart.
Kill off Roy, and then people will say, well, Roy clearly murdered.
Alibi.
Yeah, Roy clearly murdered Lauren. He's dead now, so let's just say case closed on that one.
That would be a very good double bluff.
Well, exactly. But we're being primed by Coronation Street to suspect all these returning baddies or other characters. So there's a lot of suspicion on Joel. There still is. There's not really been any clues to suggest why it's Joel, apart from he bought something at a jeweller's back in December, which was the same time that Lauren got her necklace. But apart from that, it's all been stirred up by the fans, I think. But I think Corrie probably is planting little bits here and there. It's almost like subliminal messaging for Joel. They want us to suspect him, I think.
I don't think so. I think Corrie knows that we operate on a certain level as sort of online fans, and there are different pockets of us all over the place and different there's different theories depending on what forums you go to or what websites you're on. They don't make Coronation Street for us. I know that we all like to think they do, but they don't. They make it for the millions of other people that may or may not bother to watch it next week. That's who they make it for.
So
I mean, I know they appreciate us and etc. whatever, but it's not really. They're not making it for us, and so. Although to us it's like, it's obvious it's Joel. It's definitely Joel. I don't think it is Joel now.
No, but all these people we're supposed to have suspected. So at some point people have suspected Joel. Nathan, that was the theory for a while before we even had any inkling of the fact that he'd come back. Who else is there that's on the... Like, Corey's been brought back as a villain. Now we're saying Griff. I'm sure there are more.
Roy,
of course. Maybe there aren't very many.
That's not as many as you think there are.
No, but they are bringing back lots of... Yeah, they are bringing back lots of baddies anyway. And some people are saying it could be Max, but obviously I don't think it is.
What about Bobby? He's been quiet.
Bobby's been very quiet. It's been great, isn't it? But anyway, I think because we've been primed to suspect any kind of malevolent force that arrives on the street... When Griff comes, we're naturally going to think, oh, maybe it's him. But yeah, if you think about it a little bit more,
of course,
the fact that he had that knife at the end, he's
got no real reason to. I mean, but Lauren was the daughter of one of his mates.
Yeah, it was Reese's daughter,
and then she's kind of turned on them all. So from that perspective, maybe, but I don't think he's cares about that. I don't know
what's in it for Griff to kill. To kill Roy.
He's not going to kill him. He's going to give him a bit of a good old
stabbing. Yeah. What happened at the end? Because Lauren wasn't responsible for the racists getting caught.
She didn't do anything. She hasn't done a single thing to redeem herself for any of what she's been involved in. She just was like, "Oh, it wasn't really me. I was just making sandwiches." Okay, well, the head Nazi sandwich maker was still probably put on trial.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll see next week, but it's very exciting lead up to it. How are you?
I know, Griff is back. I was like, oh, Griff back.
What's your kind of what's your hype level for Britain's Got Talent week compared to other years?
Ooh.
In some way, I'm kind of...
last week? Yeah.
I don't remember what last year was. The year before that, it was the Imran exit, and we thought, well, what's going to happen? I just desperate to know, and I was like, I just hope he doesn't die.
I know, I was sick all week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's another good example of not knowing or being told something that somebody knows that we speak to regularly.
It feels like Coronation Street's Britain's Got Talent weeks aren't quite as big now as they used to be.
I think
if you compare it to the Underworld Siege or the Victoria Court fire, I know that there were some low-key ones back then as well, but it feels like in the last few years they've been more low-key-ish.
But this is what we've been saying, though, about not relying on stunts and things. We're not going, oh, what's going to be the big stunt? If there's a big stunt, I'll be surprised, and I'll say, I don't know what's the point of that? Because I think that there's enough character stuff that you don't need a stunt. As
far as I'm aware, and I don't know this for sure, what little I've seen has led me to believe is that we're just going to have this story next week. I don't think any other stories are getting any time in the spotlight. I do like it when Corrie do that.
I am really looking forward to it because I think we're going to find out what happened to Lauren.
I think we're going to find out what's happened to Lauren. And finally, Coronation Street will be able to stop this narrative of who killed Lauren, because I am still 100% convinced she's not dead. We did do a poll on Twitter that ran for a few days, and was it 88% of people, I think, said that she's still alive. Yep. So in a way, Corrie has kind of failed. It's funny, isn't it? Because they've been more successful with it in the. Well, I suppose it's similar to the Andy thing when they said that he was dead.
No, it's not similar at all because nobody thought everyone thought he was dead.
Yeah, but we did.
No, we didn't.
No, we wondered.
We said, wouldn't it be funny if? And then he was. I think the problem is that nobody just outright said there's no way anyone could have survived losing this much blood, or there's no way that she's alive after we found this damning piece of evidence. You know?
And I think we've just got kind of used to seeing past some of Corrie's tricks that they like to do.
Well, we never really, it was like who killed Tony Foster?
Frank Foster.
Frank Foster. It was his mum.
Yeah.
We all thought it was his mum.
They like to try and hoodwink us, and if you've been hoodwinked enough times, or attempted to be hoodwinked enough times, then you're going to look out for a further one.
But it was but Coronation Street isn't that show, though. That's the thing. When they try to be something they're not, it doesn't work. They're not a murder mystery show. So, why are they trying to do a murder mystery? I know I love it, but I'm almost always disappointed. But I always get amnesia and I get excited when it happens again.
Yeah, I am definitely quite excited for next week. I don't think it's going to be a massive letdown. I try not to hype myself up too much because it's very rare that if I get super hyped about something that is exactly really what true, I want it to be. I'm trying to contain my excitement and thinking it should be quite good. David Nilsson will hopefully be up there and be one of the stars of the week. We'll get to... You're right, I think we will find out what happened to Lauren. Sure, it's almost already been a bit too long that they've dragged it out. So, I think we'll be in a very different place this time next week, and a new chapter for the whole story and for 2024 in general of Corrie.
Well, we know, there's a trailer.
There is a trailer out there.
I wouldn't watch it if you don't want to get spoilers. I wouldn't say it was particularly spoilery. I've put together something somebody said to us and the trailer, and I think I have a general idea about how it's going to go down.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the details of the trailer right now, but I've kind of watched it through side eye, kind of like not wanting to take it in.
I wouldn't watch it if you
want to be completely spoiler free. I wouldn't watch it.
I wouldn't watch it anyway because I think it was better not to watch it.
Yeah, George, you wish you hadn't watched it then.
Yeah.
But some of it was put together. It looks like some of it is clips from the show and some of it's specially filmed stuff for the promo. I mean, there's still the last proper true made to be a trailer was the Imran and Abby one from 2 years ago, wasn't it? When the camera was spinning around, that was fantastic, and we did the whole analysis of that on YouTube. But we decided against doing it for this one because it felt like it was mostly a collection of clips. I'd like it to have been a little bit higher production value.
I don't think they've got the budget.
No, maybe it is just that again, yeah. But who can say? But I'm glad they at least did one, and exciting stuff. And the one thing with Britain's Got Talent Week that I don't like, and I know lots of people do enjoy this, is that it's only half an hour. And people are saying, Corrie's better when it's half an hour, and you are perfectly within your right to say that. If you prefer the half an hour episodes, more power to you. But whenever we get Britain's Got Talent Week, it feels like the episodes are over in a flash. And I know there's going to be another one the next day, but in Britain's Got Talent Week, we get less Coronation Street than we do the rest of the week because we got 2.5 hours next week versus the usual 3. And with all the adverts in the middle, you got 21, 22 minutes maybe of Coronation Street. It comes across as really, really short to me, at least.
Yep.
Gemma says yep to
that
one.
I think I prefer it half an hour.
But you're allowed to say that. I'm just, I for me, it's over far too quickly. It's half an hour.
I really think it works better as a half-hour show.
I wouldn't mind it if it was half an hour. And I think that's the difference with, say, EastEnders, because it's on the BBC with no adverts. A half-an-hour show is half an hour, and that doesn't feel too short, just from the few that we watched over at Christmas time. But Corrie is, for me, it's too short when it's a half an hour episode. Anyway, other side of the story, is this me going on to this next one, the Gru Maloof story. Not too much of a fan of this, really. It's Sarah and Maria getting at each other because of what happened. Sarah found out that Maria found out that Sarah had been having it off with, or trying to have it off with Gary. Is that right? And
what's the question?
What's the beef between Sarah and Maria?
Sarah...
It's just to do with Gary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also Sarah's loggerheads or trying to apologise to Bethany after the big slap last week. So Maria calls Gary into the salon at some point on Monday and is like, I've just been checking our account. Why is there £10,000 less there than there should be? So this is the £10,000 that he's given to Sarah to give to Nathan to get him to flee Weatherfield, which I guess we can assume he's done now because he wasn't in it this week. But do you reckon we're going to be seeing Nathan next week? Is he going to be in the mix? Surely he's got to be because he's been brought in as the suspect,
suspicious.
Isn't he? Yeah.
Do you think he killed Lauren? If he's killed Lauren,
Nobody's
I'm mad.
killed Lauren.
Right, if he's kidnapped her somewhere, that's barmy.
The thing is, if it's Joel or if it's Nathan, that's the same level of disappointment. And I don't think I'd really be disappointed at either of those because I also don't want it to be somebody who we've not suspected at all, because why would we have suspected them? If they're like, it's Tyrone, you never saw that one coming. It's like, well, no, of course we didn't.
Well, they can't win then,
I don't mind if it's either of them, to be honest. But I think a pairing up of people. I think that's that'll be the big twist if it's more than one of them are collaborating. So that's probably my preferred outcome here at the moment. But anyway, back to this £10,000. Gary said, I had to have some last minute work done on the factory before I sold it to Carla, so that's where the £10,000 went. And Maria's like, okay, that sounds good to me. So Maria sees Sarah in the pub later and says, do you know anything about needing to replace a heater or whatever in the factory before the sale went through? And Sarah goes along with this because she knows, she picks up on the fact, she's smart ass Sarah, that they're actually trying to cover for her for what she and Gary got up to. David, on the other hand, smells a rat. He starts having a dig with Sarah and says, what's going on here? What's going on between you and Maria? And she tells him what happened, but has to keep it quiet. Me and Gary. He says, look, I've been put in a really difficult position now. I wish I'd never asked. So Wednesday, this is when it switches focus away from Sarah a little bit, doesn't it? Well, a bit more to Daniel and Bethany, I suppose. He's going to the prison later, or the prison school, whatever he calls it. I can't remember what it is.
He's going to teach Griff a thing or two.
He's going to the kids' prison. He's going to teach PE to Corey.
He wants to get the credit. He's like, I could have taught him about football.
Could have been me on this streaming platform, getting my beautiful face out there.
I'm an inspirational teacher.
He invites Bethany out for lunch, and she's like, I don't really want to go out. I'm still a bit not the best of sorts.
Sad.
Yeah. He says, go out shopping today. And so she does. And she goes away and comes back with a load of designer bags. Don't know where she gets the money for that from. And Sarah sees her in the street, chases after her all apologetically. She's saving a fortune on rent, isn't she?
Yeah, I know. Sucker.
Mary sees that Bethany's upset and invites her to come into the florist, where she gives her a good old pep talk. And I remember how awfully Nathan's treated you, but equally how strong you were when you stood up to him in court. You need to stand up to him now and harness that energy, and you'll come out on top and you're better than him. So basically, that leads to her deciding to make up with her mum. And it's not the only make-up that Bethany's up to this week, because Friday is all about getting her back together as friends with Daisy. Well,
they weren't ever
not friends. Back together. They weren't ever friends, you're right.
They're just forming new friendships.
Yeah. Daniel's got his job back, we find out on Friday.
I was
just
worried.
in time for half-term. So Daniel...
And they want him back immediately.
Yes. Straight in, come right in.
And
now.
Bethany's like,
this is basically the excuse to get him out of the picture, so that Daisy can go round, because she's overheard Daniel saying, Bethany's out of sorts at the moment.
She needs a friend.
And Daisy decides that because she hasn't got anything else on at the moment, because we've not seen her since Carla kicked her out of the pub month and a half or however long ago it was, that she's going to grab herself a bottle of wine and let Bethany unload on her. And although Bethany is a little bit hesitant to do that, they end up being the best of friends.
They bond over bitching about a chair they both hate that Daniel thinks is great, and they said it reminds them of Ken.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great.
Daisy just is like, look, I know you had a rough time with Nathan. It's a little bit like with me with Justin, but yours is worse. Don't worry,
Bethany's
Bethany.
Like, yeah.
And they just watch Mean Girls together.
And they talk about how they both had visions.
Oh yeah, they both had McLeod flashbacks, didn't they?
Oh yeah, that'll happen once you get...
Did you get the woozy camera? Yeah, did you get the sound effect? When
yeah,
you
it's
thought
like a weird echo. Yeah, that's what happened to
me. I did quite enjoy their reconciliation on the sofa when Daniel came home and they were
cuddled up watching Mean Girls.
I don't know whether I particularly buy it.
No,
I think maybe it happened a little bit fast considering just what the level of hatred was between them, especially with a man involved.
I know, but I think you're overlooking the power of Mean Girls and Barbie to unite women.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Do you think that they will stay friends?
No. It's about as long as the runtime of a film this friendship will last.
I'm starting to wonder whether Daniel's like, hello, you
two don't even...
cuddled up there on the sofa, mind if I join you? Don't like the idea of that. Leanne Institute storyline. Your turn.
Is it? Am I doing?
Yeah, you're doing this one. I did the last story. Whiz through that story.
All right then.
Not much going on with Bethany this week, is there?
On Monday, Simon has been asleep on Nick's bed, and he's
after his little boozing.
Where was Nick?
I don't know.
Toya's bed.
Oh, maybe.
He says, "I promise, I was just a bit stressed. I'm not slipping into my old habits, but they're worried about him anyway." Rowan turns up at the bistro, and they wanted him to get in touch with Leanne about Simon's struggles, but he says no, it's only emergencies, and this is an emergency. And Nick says, "Stay away from my family." But then Rowan sees Simon in the street and says, "Oh, your mum's doing really well at the retreat. Why don't you come and have a chat with me in the cafe? I see some potential in you." And then in the cafe, he says, "The retreat is so wonderful. Why don't you come and see your mum there for free? It'll be great. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll see that the Institute is all about helping people and we can help you." And so Simon's like, "Right, great, I'm going." And he goes to pack and he tells Toya and Nick, and they're like, "We have to stop him from going." So
if I was Toya and Nick, I'd take advantage of the fact and probably move house so that if he did come back,
so that Leanne and Simon can't come back.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday, he's
changed the locks at least.
He's all packed up, and Nick and Toya still don't want him to go. And then, Toya tries to tempt him with a weekend away at a B&B with her. It's like, no, thank you. I'm not going to hang around with my aunt in a British seaside resort.
I know.
So they say, "Look, you stay here with your family if you're having a tough time." Simon says, "No, I need to go and do this for myself." But when Simon goes, Nick phones Peter up. And then Simon has a go at Nick, when he finds this out. It says, "You dobbed me into my dad." And Nick says, "We are worried about you." And Simon says, "What about Peter? Do you think he's going to get worried about me and then hit the bottle?" And they're like, "Oh, I didn't think about that." Toya tries to tell him that they're trying to do what they can to keep him safe. And then Simon's like, "I don't know whether I should go or not, because Toya, I should tell you that Peter's offered me a job on the 7 Seas. And I'm very interested.
Cabin boy.
Don't know if this job is even real, because last time it wasn't." And Toya says, "Oh, no, that's really good. You should probably leave the show." And he says, I don't know if this, maybe I should. I'm not sure.
You know everyone who thought you were really cute when you were little?
No. Rowan comes to pick Simon up to go to the retreat, and he says, "I've decided not to go. I'm going to work with my dad." And Rowan's like, "Oh, that's really great news. We always need people that know how to do knots at the Institute. Let me know when you come back."
Rowan's still brilliantly smooth.
He's so smarmy.
He can roll with anything. That's the sort of thing that is like, what
a great opportunity.
He barely even batted an eyelid. He just can't let this front crack, can he? I'm so pleased for you.
Because his idea of preparing somewhere for Simon to go is putting a pile of dirty rags in a corner and calling it a bed.
See, I'm wondering whether the reason that they wanted to have Simon at the retreat is they were going to use him as some kind of sacrifice.
Yeah.
Virgin sacrifice.
You can't say that. Is that all right, Simon?
Who do we get
Fine.
now?
Go where you want.
Certainly not Abby.
We'll just get a goat, I suppose. So, Nick tells Rowan, "Tell Leanne about this, about what's happening with Simon." And I don't think he's very committal about it. And then Nick tells Toya, "I feel Leanne slipping away from me."
Yeah, we get it. We know where this is going.
And then he goes,
very slowly.
That's him squinting. On Friday, Simon, why doesn't Simon just go? Simon tells Carla, I'm going on a boat. And she says, there's a song about that. That's really cool. Congratulations. Would you like my nautical pashmina? And he says, no.
I don't know whether many people know that song. But look it
I'm
up.
on a boat. It's great. Carla is sad because she tells Sarah that how come Simon gets to hang around with Peter. And I always thought Peter might come back, but he's not going to come back if Simon's not here. So, and I miss him.
I thought that I did feel bad for Carla. I thought that...
I felt really bad for Carla here.
Yeah, because especially the way that he left and it is all a bit open and she's
I know,
saying,
they were like,
I'm letting you go and maybe once you got it out of your system, but everything that happened today really was a closing the door on what's it called? What's Carter? That's it, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's over. So Hope manages to get some money out of Carla and Simon in the cafe for a little Big Shots car wash fundraiser, and
this was just kind of going in the background of the other stories, wasn't it? There's going to be a little Big Shots fundraiser. Is it for this Monday? But then that's not to do with the Lauren and Roy story,
maybe they're gonna do a valet on somebody's car, pop the trunk and find a dead body.
Yes, that's it. That's got to be it.
And then Hope, being the psychopath she is, would just get a bin bag and start pulling bits of arm out and going, I don't know, what is it, bleach for bodies? I'm not sure. Anyway,
pass it over, Audrey, when you finish doing your eyes. That's what we were talking about earlier. Don't squint at me.
I don't get it. What do you mean?
We were talking about Audrey bleaching her eyes.
I get it. Simon shows Carla a picture of this yacht that he's going to work on, and Carla's like, what is Peter doing with this woman? He's got his arms around her. So she goes to talk to Ken about this and tries to get some information out of him.
I love Ken's reaction. It's
and
like,
yeah,
we all knew.
Knows about that strumpet. I didn't think it was serious, but we didn't know how to tell you because, you know, it just seemed like a bit of a holiday fling. And she's like, what the hell? Well, and she's like, no, I don't mind. I just hope he's okay. Maybe I'll change my name back to Carla Connor.
Yes, we had an argument about this earlier, didn't we?
Have an argument.
I say that Carla turning back to Carla Connor can't happen too soon. That's a brilliant idea.
I like Carla Barlow. It's hilarious.
Carla Barlow sounds funny, but she is, to me, in my heart, she is 100% Carla Connor. That name is iconic. Carla Barlow is just kind of, isn't that funny because it rhymes? But I do not think, I'd never look at her and think Barlow.
I'm really bad at keeping tabs of women's surnames on this show. And it makes me feel like a bad feminist. But I can never remember what their new names are or whether they change their names or not. I find it really distracting. Mm-hmm. Like, is she's Abby Webster now, isn't she? Okay. Yeah. There's loads of people I haven't caught up with. Anyway, Simon and Carla on the bench later have a hug and say, I miss you.
Yeah, sad times. What is there to
She's
say?
Like, Simon, have a good time on your boat and tell Peter he can get bent, not bother coming back to Webfield because my name's Carla Connor now.
I think that they should have the story that Peter stops his boat off in Spain or maybe he crashes his boat into Tracy doing a water skiing.
Oh yeah, maybe, and kills her.
Yeah.
One thing you didn't write down anywhere is that Carla gave Daisy her job back.
I thought I wrote that somewhere. Maybe I haven't. Yeah, so Daisy, having lost her job a month and a half ago, we have got no idea what she's been up to since then.
This whole story has been absolute nonsense with the Rovers. They've totally screwed this up really badly. It was a massive story. Where the hell is... Jenny wasn't even in it. They made a joke about why she wasn't there because when Carla came into the pub and Daisy was there getting a bottle of wine, I still don't understand why anyone buys wine from a pub when there's a shop down the road, but there you go. So... she asks, where's Jenny? And it's because Jenny is changing her barrel, and so nobody's there, or she's doing something.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody's there behind the bar, and Daisy makes a comment to Carla, like, that's what happens when you fire everybody. And then at the end of the week, she asks Daisy if she wants to come back again.
It was a classic example of let's have something happen for drama, for cliffhanger.
But they didn't even get a climax out of it, really.
There was nothing. It was like, you lost your job, Daisy. What are we going to do? It doesn't matter because the next time we see you, you get your job back.
Now I'm in charge of the pub and things are going to be very different around here, believe me, Jenny. You're not going to get away with it. Well, what? Nothing's changed at all. Nothing's changed at all. Carla's not... The only time you don't even remember Carla owns it. And also, all this stuff with the factory and she was moaning at Daisy and Jenny saying, the factory, because of you guys, Gary's selling the factory and I can't afford to buy it because all the money that Stephen stole, you stole off me and now... You've sunk it into this place and I can't get it out. Well, how does she afford to buy the factory then?
Yeah, it doesn't make
And also, Sarah's got no idea what's going on with this.
No.
I don't get... The whole thing is just stupid. They should not do any business stuff because they can't do it. They don't keep track of anything. They don't know who owns what. They don't know how much anything costs.
I think they do. They're just not very good at conveying that to us, especially when they have weeks in between. I'm sorry,
but that's all this is. All Coronation Street is people conveying ideas to the viewers. And if they can't do it, don't bother doing it.
It does make me wonder, like, are we going to get into a situation where, like with Gary in the factory building, we just kind of forget that they own it, and then one day in the future, Carla will just say, "Oh, actually, I don't want to be involved in this anymore," and then that will put an end to that.
And really, at the end of the day, what has changed at all about any of this? Like, Carla's bought the factory. Well, everyone thought she owned it anyway.
Yeah. And I don't get why she was being so pleasant to Daisy. I think that she should probably still hold a grudge. Jenny and Daisy have got off so lightly.
They stole so much money off of her.
Yeah. And they're laughing all the way to the bank. Well, I suppose
the whole thing just sucks, honestly. It sucks what they've done to that story. Where's Jenny? They set up a whole plot. They set up a scenario in which... You had 3 women who were working together, who hated each other, and they're all great characters, which is normally a recipe for brilliant drama in Coronation Street. And they just went,
nah,
just make it how it was.
Yeah.
Or let's just not even have half the characters in it. And when they are in it, they're not even talking about this story.
Yeah. Just going back to Simon.
Bonkers.
I'm kind of wondering, is Simon going to be able to see Leanne before he goes off, because she's due back from the retreat in... I don't know when Simon's going. She's only halfway...
The end of next week, isn't she?
I think... I don't think she's going to come back next Friday, only purely because that's going to be Britain's Got Talent week. It's going to be the climax of Britain's Got Talent. So she's probably going to come back the next Monday or Wednesday, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Simon going to... I think it's probably going to be built up as a... Oh no, I need to go, my boat's just about to leave, but where's my mum? And then she'll probably arrive just in time for a hug.
Do you think that you can only get to a boat from another boat?
Well, I just think that it's going to be a close call to whether he sees her or not, and
I know, but you make it sound like you can only go on a boat if you're on a boat already.
No, I don't mean that. But the thing is, if they want to have some kind of emotional... scene between her and Simon, which I really, really hope they do, it will mean that she can't come back like a robot, and I really, really want Leanne to come back like she's been totally reprogrammed by this place.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
No,
what?
No, that's it. I don't know what she's going to do.
Okay, I thought you said you were going to have something else.
I don't know what she's going to do.
Okay, right, finally, Demi, is this me? Or is this you?
Just you do it.
This story wasn't very much. It was basically just Demi deciding that that she's actually over Steve. The whole story has basically been Steve getting together with Demi, then going on about Tracy and Tommy, her getting fed up with it, but agreeing to take him back. Well, this time she says, enough's enough, have a nice life, I'm off of here. So then we also had Tim and Steve talking about Steve's big 50th birthday party that's coming up. There's a big football exhibition that he wants to go to. Where's the football exhibition? Of course, at Chariot Square Hotel. Oh. No, the Chariot Square Hotel. Yes, a big football exhibition with Corey Brent as the star exhibit. And this also is the day that they're putting up the Tommy Orpington bust. I don't know, but nothing happened with that really this week, did it? And I think that's possibly it for Demi. Are you kind of feeling that we're not going to see Demi ever again?
No, I want want her to come back.
I think that this probably is it. And it's one of these cases where a character is only needed for she's been in 5 episodes, and then you cast someone who's absolutely perfect for the role, and it's like, oh, sorry, we don't need you any longer. But maybe we will see Demi again. I really hope so, because she was such a coup to get that actress. She was fantastic, and she really brought the character of Demi to life, and to only get a tiny amount of her, it'd be a crying shame if we don't get to see her again. But it makes sense of the way that they sometimes do these. They have these bit characters. Okay, we're done with this. So that was an all right week of Coronation Street. Like I said, it was a bit of build up to next week, but I suppose your thoughts on this week are going to largely depend on how much you enjoyed the Abby story, or how much you were able to engage with the Abby story. You got a rating in mind for this one?
Yeah, I do.
What is it?
I'm gonna give it 3.5 pity brews.
I was thinking of 3.5 as well. I'm gonna give it 3.5 purple glittery. You know what? Down the toilet.
That was so funny. That little aside about Jev eating the Play-Doh.
Yeah, it was good, but not great. It was a standard okay week all the way through, I think. But you know, it was good enough. Abby is your main character. That's always gonna add to the points.
Is she your character of the week?
I think she probably is, because it's certainly not Kevin.
Kevin.
I don't think that there's anybody else this week that has been as strong. I mean, Bernie to some extent. But yeah, this week's all been about Abby for me, so I'm happy to give the character of the week to her.
I'm going to give it to Kevin.
What?
I am going to give it to Kevin because he stirred emotions in me that I hadn't felt for a long time. Like, just a pure hatred of Kevin. Every so often, Kevin reminds me that I hate him.
Yeah, he's like, you said he's the new Martin Platt.
He's the new Martin. He just shouts. Like, he doesn't understand. This is why I think he's a great character, because he feels really real to me. He doesn't understand what's going on, so he shouts. He doesn't get what's happening, so he shouts.
The world has moved on from his sphere of understanding.
He's got no idea what's going on half the time, and so he shouts and he's grumpy.
He knows cars, he knows football, he knows beer, and that's about it.
And the way he reacted to really unpleasant, but it enraged me. And I think it's important. Coronation Street sometimes it has to make you mad, doesn't it? And gets you going, gets your juices flowing, gets you going, oh, I hate that character. And I think that's, got to have bits like that in the show. And I also like it when people don't have the, inverted commas, correct reaction, you know.
I'm kind of ready for Abby and Kevin to split up.
Yeah, I know. I want him to just go.
And I don't like, I hate it when they get newly married couples and split them up, like they're doing with Sarah and Adam. Yeah, that's why she's Abby Webster.
When did they get married? I forgot.
Who cares? Because we haven't probably seen them since they got married. Because they didn't know what to do with them.
I can't keep track of all these things that happen.
No, this is our job, partly, is just being a podcast.
But this doesn't feel important, does it, though?
It doesn't. It's like, this was a story, let's get them together. Are they really suited for each other? No, not really. So that's maybe the other problem that I've got with Cassie coming in. Like, in a way, I'm thinking, yeah, get her away from Kevin, but also I'm thinking, oh, but they're married. Why can't they make anything like that work? I don't know. Right, we've done our score. We've done our character of the week. I think that's everything, isn't it? Roll on Britain's Got Talent week.